And I had this Mountains and Waters Alliance. I had a group of advisors. I found that I wasn't able to do the things that would have been a really good idea. And finally I said, well, I can write a book. I can put it all down there carefully. And writing the book turned out to be like the best thing I ever did, because I spent probably 5 years reading exciting things that I did not know. And those things that I did not know tend to be, I don't know what human means. None of us know what human means because we have been trained very intensely to think that human means something else. It's like humans are the masters of the universe, or maybe just the masters of Earth. Humans are smarter than other beings. Humans are the only conscious ones here. And I'm grateful not only for the people who talk to their dogs and cats, but for people like Suzanne Simard, who study the behavior of trees and then tell us about it. And so now people who are paying attention know the trees communicate with each other, they help each other. They warn each other if a fire is coming. They protect each other like family. I'm a plant-oriented person rather than an animal person. So the opening, the prologue, I wrote, all living things speak us into existence. And that's my particular version of those 4 lines from the Genjo Koan. All living things. So it's common to confuse the end of modern civilization with the end of human life. To think it's too late to stop the many crises we face, to forget the lives of other beings. Here, now, we remember those other beings and consider that something may be more powerful than our own creations. Our bodies are water, moving with the ocean tides. Our bodies are matter, hungering for the feel of the earth underfoot. Each is a cousin of the microbes in the soil and a relative of the bur oaks up the hill. I write not about the 60% of the human body composed of molecules of water, but of water that moves in the air, flows in and out, rises and swells like ocean tides, flows from high places to low, bubbles over rocks, thunders down from the sky, carves a new path through the soft earth and even through rock. That water is our birth, our home. Humans, forever that we are small in a large universe. Only modern humans have imagined ourselves as gods, all powerful. And only with this fantasy have humans come to the edge of destroying life on Earth. Yet we call this the only way to live. What if there were another way to live, embedded in a world of living, conscious, sacred beings? What if that were the way to save ourselves? What if, by recovering the knowing of our ancestors, we could heal the trauma that we call normal life? What if we could save ourselves, our grandchildren, millions of children and adults right now from starvation, wildfire, enslavement, from becoming refugees in a barren world? It's too much to imagine, yet without imagining it, we hurtle ever faster toward disaster. This body is Earth. That actually means great reaches of space with electrons, atoms, molecules spinning and somehow held together. The mystery of solid matter that is merely bits of energy. I mean to speak of earth, minerals, substance, gravity, what we recognize as home. What have we got to lose? Well, yes, the entire life that we know. Yes, safety, convenience, familiarity. What else? What if we could lose the violence of poverty and our fear of strangers? Stop the epidemic of depression. Walk away from addiction. Leave behind the utter loneliness of trusting no one. This body belongs here. The winds blow through. The tides move. The earth holds. Of awareness makes its home in this one body called mind. In these bodies we call ours. Seeing each other, we create the other. We are no more separate than left hand from right. So I address the book to a general audience, but the things I offer them come from Zen Buddhists, and surely you recognize them. So I wrote here, every day I wonder if I should be doing something else. And every day on thinking about it, I remember Ivan Illich's words. Neither revolution nor reformation can ultimately change a society. Rather, you must tell a new powerful tale, one so persuasive that it sweeps away the old myths and becomes the preferred story. One so inclusive that it gathers all the bits of our past and our present into a coherent whole. One that even shines some light into the future so that we can take the next step. If you want to change a society, then you have to tell an alternative story. So there's my intention, to tell an alternative story. And to tell a way that attracts people and makes them want to live a different way. And sometimes I feel like a street corner preacher. So I'm jumping through the book, and I can no longer see. Oh, there it is. Okay, I know what time it is. To ask for help. Okay, so I wrote about the self. So I found an interesting thing. Ivan Illich proposes that until written language, there was no idea of a permanent self. A self would arise in the telling of a story and be gone again. I'm reminded of the Buddhist core teaching. There is no abiding self. There is an ephemeral self that rises in response to conditions and ends again, that is created moment by moment. The self cannot be exterminated or obliterated because it has always been temporary. It's a match. The natural state of humanity is that the individual self rises and falls as needed. Our fears about losing identity are just fears. There's nothing to lose. Oh. Mm-hmm. So then I started the whole second part of the book is an attempt to investigate the stories that we have. about how human beings have lived, about who we are, about what's important, and about what's impossible. So I'm not reading from that section because I think it's too detailed. But I'm going to say that when I started reading, and it was historians, and it was archaeologists and anthropologists and sociologists, I found two kinds of things. One thing that I found is that human beings are generally cooperative, compassionate, that especially this shows up in emergencies. There's stories from, well, fires and floods all over the place. And Rebecca Solnit wrote a book called A Paradise Hell. The other fact is that we haven't been told these stories. We've been told stories about how scary people are, how people will try to hurt us. And we've been told some very convincing stories. For instance, Lord of the Flies. It wasn't new when I was in college, but it was very popular. Everyone was reading it, and I never managed to read it. And it was supposed to be very deep and reveal things about the human condition. So, there's a guy, I think he's a historian named Rutger Bregman. He's from the Netherlands. And he did research on these stories that we have. And that one in particular, well, it was written by a really misanthropic person. He didn't like anybody. And lots of people tried to reproduce the way the boys acted in Lord of the Flies. And this is all a while ago now, but they never succeeded. They would put two groups of boys out in the woods and try to set up competitions and stuff. And the boys said, hey, could we go hang out with them? Why do we have to compete? And so ordinary American boys resisted the pressure to act like sociopaths. But there's this group of boys that was, well, they stole a boat. They wanted to escape from their school. I think it was an Episcopal boarding school. So they stole this boat. They didn't know anything. And they quickly shipwrecked on a very small island called Ata. They were shipwrecked there for 18 months. And then a guy who got off course noticed that there was a fire from the island, and he came over to check it out, and all these boys came running towards him. They had cooperated. Everyone was in good health. They'd kept the signal fire going in case anybody came by. One boy broke his leg, and he was completely healed by the time this rescue happened. That's how ordinary boys behave. And, you know, we always think boys behave worse than girls, so nobody tried this with girls. But so there's a little story that says, oh, maybe humans aren't as bad. Maybe evil isn't our true nature. Okay. I'm not going to discuss the Middle Ages, cost-benefit analysis, and some other stuff. But I will talk about Elinor Ostrom's research on the commons. In 1968, an economist, Garrett Harding, published a thing called The Tragedy of the Commons. Basically, it says that if everyone shares the same space, for instance, for grazing animals, then those who bring more animals will benefit and push out everyone else. The commons will be overgrazed and ruined for everyone. So the tragedy of the commons has been taught in economic schools for decades now, but it actually describes a very specific kind of situation. There's a limited space that's not protected from outside intrusion. Oh my gosh, Sawyer, that's awesome. The people involved, whether it's farming or grazing the commons, do not cooperate or speak to each other. There are no consequences for abuse. But it's taken to mean that communal ownership never works. Eleanor Ostrom researched successful and unsuccessful common situations and reported on what's needed for a lasting and productive commons. Boundaries are clearly defined, both for the shared resource and group membership. Members are rewarded fairly. Group members create at least some of their own rules and make their own decisions by consensus. There's monitoring. Group members can easily detect violations such as free riding and active exploitation. Sanctions are graduated with stronger contents after milder sanctions have been ignored. Conflict solution mechanisms are perceived as fair by group members. Groups have the authority to conduct their own affairs, not be governed from outside. For groups that are part of larger social systems, there must be appropriate coordination among relevant groups. The point is that people can work together and often do, and the common can thrive. I knew it in medieval Europe, and then it was wrecked. So, so I want to read a little bit about hope. And the chapter is titled Beyond False Hope. It's chapter 13. So, everything depends on the stories we tell ourselves. Hope is a longing for a future condition over which we have no agency, offers Derek Jensen. That means we wait for someone else to solve our problems. I will name that false hope because there's something else. Hope is uncertainty, says Becca Solnit. It's possibility, the opposite of despair. Hope is an opening into the future that allows for action. It's not a guarantee. We never know the outcome of our actions. Because of that, we are alive, not cogs in a machine on a predetermined path, but living conscious beings, engaged with other living conscious beings, moving toward a future which is not in our control, but just might be subject to our influence. We act on hope, which is a possibility. We act again and again, widening the space in which life becomes possible and remains possible. Solnit tells this story from a speaking tour from a group discussion. A small, elegant Asian woman about my age said, in a voice of bell-like clarity, "I think that is right. If I had not hoped, I would not have struggled. And if I had not struggled, I would not have survived Pol Pot." Oh. I said, we choose our stories. Please choose with intention and awareness. So I think you can hear. So I have stories that come from my practice in Buddhism, my practice in Zen. And so now I'm going to, page 51. Interlude, when everything is conscious. And so this is kind of a statement. This is what I think. I think it's consistent with Zen. When the world, including concrete things, is understood as conscious, everything changes. The natural world, including animals, humans, and all the rest, is no longer a resource for our use. It exists in its own right and is worthy of respect. We, as humans, are nourished by it, including humans living today. Every speck of matter carries the quality of mind, awareness, consciousness. It's not necessarily personality or personal existence, more likely something we can't understand. There is nothing that is not conscious down to the smallest particle, the electron, and up to interstellar space. We are embedded. And so I'm following a thread here. So chapter 15 is titled Nobody But Us. And I open with a quotation from Annie Dillard, and I will read just a piece of it. There is no one but us. There is no one to send, nor a clean hand, nor your heart on the face of the earth, nor in the earth, but only us, a generation comforting ourselves with the notion that we have come at an awkward time, that our innocent fathers are all dead, as if innocent had ever been, and our children unfit, not yet ready, having each of us chosen wrongly, made a false start, failed, yielded to impulse and the tangled comfort of pleasures, and grown exhausted, unable to seek the thread, weak and involved. But there is no one but us. There never has been. Okay, I had to read the whole thing. But there's no one but us, after just saying we're completely embedded with everyone and we have to ask them for help. And so now I have to struggle with assembling these two things. We cannot wait for the technologists to fix it. The politicians won't do it. They're owned by the capitalists who would rather go to Mars than heal this beautiful planet. Even you and I, well, I still have a car and a cell phone, and I write to you on this computer. Without fossil fuels, I would be powerless, or so it seems, unable to talk with others, to go and protest, to buy my groceries or visit my children. But there is no excuse for not acting in whatever positive ways we can. Once we know, we are required to end. And then I go through lists of things that we might do. I talk about Joanna Macy's 3 paths. In the Great Turning, she calls it the Great Turning. Like, she does not give in to despair. So one of these paths is holding actions, just stopping the harm, putting your body in the path of a pipeline, blowing the whistle on the harmful doings of government or industry or whoever needs to be stopped. General strikes and gatherings. This is what we usually call activism or resistance. But it's only one. The second is building the new world, creating structures that grow food. care for humans, relate to the natural world, everything in a way that is more humane and open, supporting life instead of death. When I lived in Bloomington, I used to go to Mother Hubbard's cupboard, the food shelf. And I thought, Mother Hubbard's, if things get tough, Mother Hubbard's is going to save us. Because they not only had cooking classes, they had gardens. And they had garden classes. And they were such totally a grassroots from the people how to live on the earth. And totally a space of giving along with that. And the third path is consciousness change or spirituality. I have observed that these days, leading activist groups do 2 or 3 of these at once. At the camp in British Columbia, where I spent, a few days, indigenous ways are practiced. Buildings are placed in the path of the pipeline coming. Ceremony and traditional hunting, gathering, smoking, drying happen together with fighting logging trucks and confronting agents of abuse from industry and government alike, while court battles and treaty negotiations continue. It's everything. Practice a new consciousness, create the new society, and block harm on every level. And Mel Basil said, it's not about rights, it's about our responsibility to the land. And they were doing an educational program so that the non-natives who came would learn. There were 2 pages of instructions because white people are a little slow to learn. Okay, so I won't talk about the others. One seems like enough. And I won't talk about styles of organizing. I want to go chapter 19, since we're doing that. And it says, lived by all beings. So everything lives us. Everything breathes us into life. Everything witnesses us into being. We know this. Dogen told us about it. So we're supposed to know it, but it's like it's really true. And we in turn live, breathe, and witness them into existence. In Buddhism, this is called interdependent co-arising. Things arise and things fall, dependent on each other, linked together irrevocably. We are neither separate nor permanent, but completely embedded in the web of life, with a spark of awareness in this individual being as in other individual beings. We look out at each other and recognize each other. Our mutual seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, sensing is how we create each other. It is not limited to humans. Oh. And then I got outrageous, I think. But I needed to be outrageous because the problem is very big. So chapter 20 is changing the structure of reality. And I wrote, meditation and ritual change the structure of reality. The laws of nature, the laws of physics and biology, chemistry and genetics are still there. There's another level, the level of energy, thought, consciousness. Matter is embodied consciousness. Long ago, as a physics student, I could sense this. I said matter is concentrated energy. Some people say information. I say matter is consciousness, which does not imply human-like consciousness. Zen Master Dogen said, In 13th century Japan, all beings are Buddha nature. He contradicted the best teaching of his time, that beings have Buddha nature. He took it a step further. For the moment, let's not try to pin down Buddha nature into something permanent or solid. It has a feeling of life, consciousness, being awake. And it's not a possession, not even a quality of things or people. It's our essence. Consciousness is who we are and what we are. This doesn't deny bones and muscles or electrons and molecules, but includes them. Everything is mind. Not everything is imagination, but everything is consciousness. I've started to use the term panpsychism, which simply means everything is consciousness, not just dogs, trees, flowers, not even just soil, rocks, and water. Everything is consciousness. Meditation changes the structure of the universe. So I started by saying meditation, and later on I moved to Zazen. There are rules that say only the mundane exists and there is no sacred. Those are human rules, and meditation changes them. The rules that say you are alone, or the rules that say you are supreme. It changes both of these, the miserable and the arrogant versions of isolation. Meditation removes those rules. It creates an opening in which everything is open and flexible. Things are allowed to be as they are. Things create each other. In meditation, it's possible to receive the creation of all the other beings of the universe, not just the divas, but the rocks and waters too. It's possible to send out creation into them, to recognize the flow of mutual creation, sometimes called interdependence. In ritual, I think we offer a structure to the universe. We prepare ourselves through rituals of purification, ceremonial hand washing, or smudging, incensing our robes, making prostrations, and then we enter a space ritually created and named as sacred. We say the names that we have given to those great forces, and we honor them, offer energy to them in the form of chanting or actions. Express gratitude, the most powerful of all mental states. We express praise. We feed the spirits or beings or great forces, whatever we call them. We describe the nature of this relationship through our chants or prayers or through sermons, Dharma talks, or stories, and we ask for help. The relationship goes in all directions. So ritual includes both offering and asking. And then we return to the mundane. Dainen Kagiri Roshi, my first teacher, taught us that when we left the Zendo, we bow to the Zendo that is out there everywhere in the whole world. The whole world is a Zendo. The whole world is a place for spiritual practice. And, okay, so I'm going to read one more piece, which is what I closed with, because it's an image. And I like to offer images, and we can have conversation. I wish I could see you. Today, in the sunlight and cold, with light glistening off the snow and drops of waters falling from icicles, as the figs bear their new hoped fruit in the eastern window, today I walk down to the central altar, to the place where spirits look out from the rock wall. The old grandmother was there, with Wolf looking out over her right eye, and the dark meditating woman, and the one on horseback, who then turned into a dancing woman with another ghost-like figure dancing next to her. They come and go, depending on the time of day, how the shadows fall, and perhaps the welcome in my mind. Today, to the right was a large dark shield with a few human faces turned to the east, new to me, and to the left, a standing figure who reminded me of images of Jesus. The crowds were there in the lower center as usual, looking up toward the larger figures. With tobacco in my bare cold hand, I spoke a few words. Then I chanted the Daishin Dharani, Dharani of great compassion, the very old magical chant offered daily in Soto Zen temples around the world. After chanting, we dedicate the merit, the positive energy, to good and worthy causes. I asked for a few things for the lands up north and for these beings here. Just briefly, the bald eagle came by. If you close your eyes, you can feel the energy of land and creek, rocks and bluffs, grasses and cedar trees, blue sky and snow, all of it together. I'm just beginning to share this practice with other humans. Some aspects of it have been given already. For others, I'm still in training. In the past year, I've found so many people who are ahead of me on this road. There will be work with the hands in woods, fields, and garden, and there will be shared ritual work in any sacred place, perhaps by the river or on top of the bluff, in the meadow or in the woods, or even at Shovel Point on the shores of Lake Superior. The time is close. There are practices with the Earth family or together with human community that can help us slow down, opening, breathing in life, and the long mourning of every leaf and fallen stone, every brittle grass and broken tree, and the eternal joy in the rippling of water over stone, and rustling of wind in white pine trees, and the call of the mourning dove in the spring. A few are mentioned here and there in the book. For now, just pause one moment and inhabit your skin. And I think I'll stop there and invite questions and discussion.
So do folks have questions, conversation, things for sure? I mean, there's so many things I'd like to ask that I can't go first because I'll take the next half hour. So others need to go before me. Who'd like to jump in, either by raising your hand or simply opening your mic and sharing with Shodo and the group what you'd like to say? So while folks are getting their questions together, Shodo, some folks here know that I'm kind of a weather nerd. So I'm interested in your practice with thunder beings, as you mentioned in the book, and your practice with weather, because we talk about plants and animals and rocks and trees, and that's good. And then I think sometimes we don't look up. So when we talk about wind and cloud and water and humidity, can you say a little bit about your practice with weather?
Yes. And I will not go to read. It's like it was so hard for me to put that story about the thunder beings in. It was very hard. So I practice. So I'm going to say, so stars to my awareness. I mean, I've always loved looking at the stars and I love looking at sunsets and so forth. But in this concentric leadership group, someone said, well, we did a month of every day giving some attention to water. And then some of us did a month paying attention to the stars. And I don't think that's in the book. This came to me later. But so I would just step outside the door. Of course, it was winter. And look up and think, the sun in the Kalahari Desert, they were really surprised when the white guy came and he couldn't hear the stars sing. And so I go, oh, it's normal to hear the stars sing. And so out there, and I just try to let myself let go of all the rigid habits that I have acquired. And the amount of time I spend on the computer, I'm sure doesn't help. So that's the thing. It's like the stars are there. I do my usual. So it's summer now. It was 85 today, and it's going to be 95 tomorrow, and so forth. And so I live with that, in that I've gone from the closing everything up and having plastic on the windows at night, and maybe when it gets warm enough, open the windows to let warm, fresh air in. So now it's close everything up daytime and open it at night. So I have sweet air coming in. Let me see, weather, Minnesota weather is particularly noticeable. It was when I came to Minnesota that I learned about winter car kits. Don't go out without one, you might die. So this thunder beings thing, I'm aware of them. I always loved thunder. I was always one of those people who, if there was a tornado, I would go outside.
And then the universe took Shodo from us. The thunder beings have taken her away. Let's give her a minute. I'm sure she will try to return. In the meantime, are there things anybody would like to say? Oh, here she comes back. Good. Let's give her a minute to reconnect. Are you back with us there, Shodo?
Yes, I'm here. And I'm trying to fix it on the computer. It doesn't work. Oh, yes, right. So anyway, here we are. So I was talking about the reality that weather can kill you. And that's not something I grew up with. It's like, well, unless you had a car accident in the snow and ice or something. So there's a sense of humility, and there's also an awareness. It's like we are so small. We are just like a speck in the universe, and we're a speck of consciousness, like we notice things. And what else? So I prefer to do ceremony outdoors if I can. Doesn't work so well in the winter, so that's only special occasions. Does spring, summer, we're out of tick season and we're not quite in mosquito season yet. So one can do things outdoors. It's sort of funny. I know this sounds silly, but it's like, because I live in the country, the weather is very, very real. Now, can anybody hear me? Oh dear. Oh dear, we're frozen.
We hear you.
Oh, okay. It's like Coco looks frozen, and she's the only one I could see. So, okay. So I can keep talking. But maybe it's like that feels so, and talking about it in such a mundane way. It's like out here, oh, maybe I have to go out and cover up all the lint because there's going to be a frost tonight. And then those dramatic things, it's like you sort of worship them, oh my gosh, the lightning, hail. Somebody told me the meaning of hail in the Lakota people, but I wouldn't want to reproduce it. It just clearly was something sacred. Of course it was. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, Henry's got his hand up. Maybe we go to him and then to Sagan. So Henry, how about
Good.
you?
Yeah.
Great. Listen, thank you all for organizing this, and I'm really looking forward, Shodo, to reading your book. I'm retired, and I'm in a much smaller world than I used to inhabit, and I just feel that amongst my friends, a lot of the discussion is just around sort of psychologically surviving. And the interesting question is, where within the grander gestalt can you actually impact anything? Because
yes.
I mean, I'm trying not to despair, but if you have a couple of hours, I'll tell you about what I think about both the Democrats and the Republicans.
You don't have to.
And every time I call them the great duopoly, my wife gets mad at me, but she's out of town right now, so I can say that. But I get it. But right now I feel so focused just on what I can do within this like sort of 10-foot circle that comes my way. But how do you impact the grander equation, or is it just what it is? You and I'm trying not to share over it all, but I'll do that. But thank you every setting this up. I really enjoyed every minute of it.
This is good. So let me respond, because the reason for writing the book was that problem. The sense of hopelessness and being overwhelmed. It's like, what on earth are we going to do? Hopelessness is a weapon. And so the fact that unless you listen to alternative news sources, everything looks hopeless to you, that's intentional. I'm thinking we don't have evil in Buddhism. We have delusion, greed, hate, and delusion, which are pretty awful. And so a core delusion is the idea that we're separate, the idea that we should be able to do it by ourselves, the idea is that human can do everything, and the idea that the world is infinite. And so we can just keep gobbling it up with no consequences, and technology will take care of it. Now they want AI to take care of it. There wasn't much AI when I was writing the book, by the way, or just as well, because I tried to remove the rant. But so my image, it is true that in the past few months, I've gone and joined protests in my local community, and we're looking at things to protect immigrants from being snatched, or protect all brown people from being snatched on the excuse that they're immigrants. But okay, let me find it. So my image, I'll just say it. My fantasy about Mountains and Waters Alliance, and this is, I shouldn't say fantasy. It's like, it doesn't feel very real. I'm not very good at making it happen. So the book is an attempt to make it happen. And the idea is that people get together in local groups, and whatever their style of spiritual practice is, they ask for help. And so some people would ask their deities for help. And I am proposing, for those of us who are capable of it, that we ask the trees and the rivers and the stars and the sun and the moon and the mountains and the hills and the microbes, the mosquitoes, that we ask everybody to help us. And, there are reports about help. There are stories, and they're in the book. So I don't want to take a lot of time telling particular stories. But I had that one experience, and it was like, it really got my attention. It's like, okay, we should stop pretending we're the only ones here.
Yeah, that's a big one. As a man spends most of his day with a cat and a dog, when my wife's out of town. That's a big one, right, Mimi?
Yeah.
And our primary battle around here is against the ticks, but we'll figure that one.
Right. Oh, yes. I went to a class with Sam Thayer, who is a forager, and he teaches, and he's an amazing human being. But so we were meeting outdoors, of course, because it was about foraging. And he told us the things that he had done to discourage the ticks. I no longer remember any of them, but there were things that he did to encourage the ticks to go somewhere else. I wish I had written them down.
I'll email you and ask, but it's been a big problem for us. But other than that, I'm cool. 99.5% of the universe, I'm good with it. That whatever percentage of the universe where its ticks are, I'm not enlightened enough to get there yet. But thank you for a beautiful book, and I look forward to reading it. And thank you all for Sawyer et al. For organizing this presentation.
Good.
Hey,
Sagan has a question. Let's go to him.
Yes.
Yeah, Shodo, I very much appreciate your very interesting, very thought-provoking book. I was curious, throughout the book, I see how you sort of interweave native traditions of spirituality with Zen practice. I was wondering what particular parallels strike you the most, or what aspects of those two currents do you find most prominent?
Oh, well, the first one is that humans are not special. They're always, it's like in the Lakota and Dakota traditions, there's this all my relations. And you say that when you're entering a sweat lodge, and it's just like, well, that's how the world is. Everybody is relatives. The respect for the earth is, in Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, she writes about a hunter who is, I don't know, elder or adult man, and he was taking some boys out, teaching them to hunt. And I believe he was talking about, he said he only took one bullet. And then he tells the story of how it went. So, because, there certainly are peoples who will make do a prayer and ask for some animal to give a gift. And some of them get very elaborate. The Inuit have some pretty wild ceremonies. The chief's wife has to something until they come back with the whale. Anyway, so he was explaining why he only had one bullet, and he was talking about going out there, and he's looking for deer, and he sees a deer kind of half hidden behind a tree. Then he sees a deer that's moving away. And then he sees a deer that kind of presents to him full body, clear shot as if it were a target. And he said, that deer gave herself to me. So he shoots that deer, gives thanks, and takes the meat home to share with all the people in the community that share food with each other. Sharing food is an important practice. And I'm thinking when we live together, we share food. Right. I think that in my Zen experience, the relationship to food is a little similar. What else? It's the concept of self. I want to be cautious about this, because I'm a white person and I've had just a little dabbling. Right. But there's the concept of self, which I described. I read Ivan Illich about what a self is. In Buddhism, we have a self that appears and disappears every moment, and however long you think a moment is, it's shorter than that. And it's created by everything. So whose concept of self do I know something about? There's a custom that I know of. I think it's called a brag dance. It seems an odd one, but a person, before they speak in the ceremonial setting, they will tell of their deeds, The first time I heard it, it was a guy describing a military event. And he had not only survived, he had done well with what was asked of him. And I was like, why are they doing this? And then somebody told me, it's so that people know that the spirits are supporting you. So it's a way of saying, okay, this is worth listening to. And I've seen white people try to do that and really screw it up. Yeah. But yeah, it's like there's my sense is of humility. And of course, today's tribes have a lot of troubles that come from us. And they are still, well, no. The ones I know are the ones who are working on the spiritual path and trying to build community. And so I won't make generalizations about how people act. I see people sometimes a little fierce, but her name was Killer of Humans. I don't know if she ever actually did battle or not, but that was like, okay. So some people, they can be fierce and they can be kinder than I can ever imagine. I've been invited into places that I say, are you sure that's okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I find it very impressive that you have been able to sort of immerse yourself in that world and, synthesize in some way, I think, various traditions.
Oh, well, a little bit. It's like one group books that's being written now is people who are indigenous and they're writing these incredible things. And I'm just dabbling, but I don't think it's my right to go very far. So I have little bits of stories.
But I think
but I didn't immerse myself. Yeah, I'm trying to create bridges, and I'm going, okay, you should read these books too, and here are these people that you should pay attention to. Darn it, there's a minute disappears on me.
No, thank you very much.
The way this happened was I did the Compassionate Earth Walk. And so I was out there. Well, first, someone invited me to go to the Unistoten camp, which is resistance in British Columbia. And they have they're doing everything. They're beautiful. And then somebody said, oh, you might want to go to the healing walk at the tar sands and at the Alberta tar sands. And they called it a healing walk because too many other people had jobs in that industry. And I was there twice. And the second time I was there, it was pretty interesting because we spent a day slowly walking around, and most people got sick because this fumes are so toxic. But there were waves and horn honks and all kinds of stuff from people driving the oil rigs and driving the machinery. You know, it's like it felt really friendly. So, yeah. So it's like you go into a place and you don't make too much of a fool of yourself. It's like I've certainly made a fool of myself sometimes, but you know, if people can tell you're sincere, they let you in at whatever's the appropriate level. And then, you know, I'm reading and I'm talking about it because I think there are teachers right now. You know, it's like it's not mine, but those are the people who are leading.
I thought it was very, very interesting how you were able to tie together very many different currents of of study that you've done. Huh? I mean, it's like a quilt of lots of connections. Huh?
Because time is moving, I want to make sure we get Owen's question in as well. Sure. So maybe we can move to Owen, and you can say or ask what you'd like to say or ask.
All right, let's see. Is my mic okay? Cool. Appreciate your time, Shodo. It's a fascinating book, and Sawyer and I recently have been talking about this. And I believe that you're familiar with this book, kind of similar, but perhaps a little bit more psychologically cynical text, Hospicing Modernity, that I've been reading through recently. So it's really interesting to hear this much more kind of spiritually hopeful and I would say encouraging text that compared to this other one that I've been thinking about. It is a little bit more, there's a little bit more.
It's intense.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got hold, somebody said, you have to read this book. So yeah. I started, I don't know if I finished it, but it was like, well, it's like, she's asking so much. It's like, okay, uproot all your stuff. And so when you're writing to publishers, you have to tell them all the similar books and how yours is different. And how mine was different from that one, apart from her like being so challenging, was that I was more hopeful. She has written another book, and I just learned that. So I have to see what she said.
Well, so my question would be, and it's along the lines of feeling a bit more hopeful. I get the privilege most days of getting to support people as they're trying to make these pretty substantial changes in their individual life, and sometimes those are changes that are, ecological or political in nature. More often not, but sometimes I get lucky that way. And recently, I've myself been trying to make some kind of lifestyle behavioral changes as well. And I think a common thread that I see is for people to be willing to put in the effort and to have the courage and the tenacity to actually make such and such change, they often need some sort of promise of like future enjoyment, right? Whether that's pleasure, meaning, fulfillment, rich relationships, whatever, right? Some sort of kind of there's something that I'm going to be achieving by making this change. And maybe this is a little akin to what Henry was thinking. I think when we think about changing our relationship to the environment, to institutions, to our economic structure, whatever, that's a very harrowing thing. It feels like a threat, and we're going to lose enjoyment. We're going to lose access to resources, power, position in the world, whatever. The tongue-in-cheek way I always like to say it is, as much as I feel like I'm an anti-capitalist, if I think about doing something that actually is going to, dismantle capitalism, my little nicotine addiction rears its head in the back of my body and says, no, where are you going to get your nicotine?
Well, you'll go through withdrawal and then it'll be okay.
Well, and of course, but and I very much believe that, but there's still that inertia in your body that I think you think about,
Mm-hmm.
in my case, that's one thing that comes up, but I think for most people, oh, my profession or my home or, security of my family, there's ways that, really feels like a big sacrifice to challenge um,
Mm-hmm.
our institutions. So it might be that you have some way to kind of negotiate with that hesitation or that.
Well, I deal with it all the time. So I said, this is my last car. It's a 2008. I bought it in 2012 or something. And just recently I asked my mechanic, okay, will this car take me 5,000 miles on this book trip I'm planning to do? And it looks like they're giving me a yes. And I was getting myself to be willing to buy a different car. The money is another issue, but it's like, okay, if something needs to be done, then you go ahead and spend fossil fuels on it. So what do I know? I know that there are a lot of things I don't do because they involve a trip into the cities, which is an hour away from me. So that's 2 hours plus, plus other stuff. So instead of going to the No Kings rally in St. Paul at the Capitol, Northfield had a rally and we had 1,500 people. That was kind of exciting. But yeah, I'm like, so I'm trying to fix my house so that to heat it with wood, well, really to heat it with passive solar with it wood as a backup. And I don't have a plan for how I would live without a phone. And I mean, smartphones are basically evil and harmful. But like right now, I don't know why my internet went out. I have rural internet. That happens. And they never give you your money back either. It's like, argh. So, and yeah, it's like, I remember choosing to live in a place where I could get to my daughter and grandchildren, my closest family, without a car. And, I have not ridden my bicycle except maybe once or twice since I came here because everything is gravel. Gravel is good. It's sustainable. But it doesn't go so well with bikes. So I haven't figured that out. And taking care of horses, it's like if I could get a housemate who knew horses, then we could do something. So I feel so unready. And yet I'm way more ready than most people. I've got foraging books. I've got seeds. And then, of course, currently, there's the, what are Israel and Iran going to do? Will anybody left alive in Gaza? What about all those people? I mean, so in Minnesota, 2 Democratic legislators were shot. No, yeah, 2 were shot, but 1 was killed. And she was reported to be an amazing, effective person, and everyone loved her and stuff. And so that is like the feeling of not being safe is very big. And I'm like, okay, what do I do about that? Except get more people to live with me. But everybody around me has guns and American flags. So, sometimes I think about danger. And when I think of it, and so it's like good trouble planning. That was in the chat. I only saw a couple words. But it's sort of like, there's a lot of canned foods stacked in the basement. Once I had a dream that there were 100 people living here and we didn't have enough food to get through the winter. And so that we were going to draw straws to see who got to eat. And because of my age, I was not going to draw a straw, but I couldn't give benefit to my kids, it's like, you can see I still remember this dream. It was probably 10 years ago. I am not ready. I know the more I practice, the more ready I'll be. And I see people who do amazing things. Is the other thing. It's like, okay, I'm not the best, actually. I'm just trying to put this thing out here and do a little networking and see if something might happen.
And that's probably a good point at which to wrap up this conversation, this networking, wonderful conversation.
Yep.
So a quick reminder that Sawyer has put in the chat the link for pre-ordering the book. I think that probably also takes you to the page with information about the book, and it's resident on the Mountains and Waters Alliance website, so you also get to look at that and more information about Shodo. So please continue to investigate. Shodo, I just want to say, is it okay if people leave this conversation and either read the book or don't, but ruminate and think about it, consider the things you're pointing out? Is it okay with you if they email you, for instance?
Totally.
If they want to continue the conversation, I'm guessing that through the Mountains and Waters website, there is a way to contact you. Is that right?
There is a way to contact me. You can also find me on Facebook, but email is a better plan. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just
that
so
was
people,
just a picture.
So people know how to follow up with you, either because they like some individual conversation, or because maybe there's another group that would like to hear from you. Would like to know more about the book. I just want to make sure we know how to do that. And of course, anybody, if you got a question, get a hold of us at Sanshin. We will connect you, of course, with.
Right. Yeah. I will say I'm particularly interested in hearing from people because I am actually doing a book trip. I will be in New England. I will be in Atlanta, and hopefully on my way back, oh, thanks, Sawyer. On my way back, I'll stop by in Bloomington and see if Morgenstern's will have me, because I didn't get to see all my friends.
Yeah. Well, so I hope as your book tour develops, you will post that agenda maybe on your website so people can follow along. As we know, Sanshin's got a constituency that's international, so
it's pretty wide. Yeah.
Hometown.
Yeah.
And want to know about that. So let's make sure we stay in touch on that.
Yeah, I am giving a talk in London on Zoom, of course.
Okay, good. So, Shodo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Doing our acquaintance with you and hearing some really interesting, thought-provoking practice material. I mean, there's stuff that personally I'd like to follow up with you on outside of this meeting. So,
yes, good. We'll have conversation.
All right. Everyone stay safe. Thank you so much. Please keep an eye on our own website for the practice that we're doing and the things that we're offering. Many folks here are familiar with us, some may not be, but of course everybody is welcome either here or at Mountains and Waters, and we thank you for your practice. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.